This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
Bad things at the beginning of an episode or something stupid, ask a question that puts you in trouble. Oh, wait a minute. Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created for societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay. We are joined today by Dani Meza of the Crushed Velvets. How you doing today, Dani?
I'm doing well, Jay. Thanks for having me.
As you could tell, I was brushing up on my dad jokes because I have a son that's 4 months old. So, you know, I got to work on that. I got some New Balance the other day and a fanny pack. It's on, man.
I'm going to some cargo shorts now.
Oh, hell. Dude, I was so mad when cargo shorts went out. Like, I was legitimately mad because my phone is the size of an iPad and I got to cram it into these little pockets or whatever it is. You know, they're just forcing me to carry a purse, which I'm cool with. Like, when are we going to have a purse for dudes? I'm all right
fanny
with
pack.
It. Dude, not the fanny pack.
You already got the New Balances.
No, I didn't actually get those. I just like to, you know, my grilling outfit, kiss the chef or whatever it is, the whole nine. No. Dani, dude, I've been super excited to meet you. Those of you that don't know, this guy's got a iconic background in music with some of the most eclectic artists. He's been with some of the best names. And when I say that, I don't mean the actual people. They're amazing too. But whoever is coming up with the names of your groups that you've been with is super cool. Because you have like Dani and the Scarlet Fevers, Blackstrap Molasses. That is the dopest band ever. Like, I feel like I should be drinking a smooth whiskey and listening to that. Right? So tell me about yourself. Where are you from?
I am from California, more specific, Indio, where Coachella Fest is held. The city of festivals, as they call it now.
Yeah, you were there recently, correct?
Playing or living?
Living,
yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you like it out there?
It's a lot better now, music culture wise. Beforehand, you'd have to leave to a bigger city to, do music. To work in music at least. Now it's all coming over here, and so it's nice.
I have to say that the playing field is leveling for artists to be able to enter into the music industry for the simple fact that there's availability of technology. And now you're able to produce high quality recordings. While they may not be your final studio recording for release out into, mass market, you're going to get in front of somebody now with social media and the right microphones and the right, acoustic treatment. And I think that that's really bringing us some of the coolest people on the planet. Like someone like yourself probably wouldn't have the ability to sit there and jam with another person before this.
And that's actually, you hit the reason I came back. While I was recovering, I didn't think I could do it because part of releasing something and writing something is part of the whole thing is you have to tour to push the music. You have to get out there.
That was the old algorithm.
That was the old way. Yeah. And so I came up in the old school and I was like, I can't do this. And until COVID hit. Then you saw all these musicians and bands and these bedroom musicians just pushing music and all these hungry fans and music listeners that were so in tune with them. And then I was like, oh, okay, here's another avenue where I can actually do this.
Can we pause right there? Because I want to point out something. First of all, our artists are the lifeblood of our reality. They create the next steps for anything and everything we do. And when you're put in a situation where you put a glass dome over art, eventually it's going to explode because it has to exist. It needs its fruition. Otherwise, the people that are holding it will lose their GD mind if they're truly artists. Right? And it'll always adapt and overcome and come out in different ways. And the fact that everybody went into the pandemic, COVID, and they're isolated, it brought out an authenticity attached to the music that wasn't there before, because artists are constantly made to reproduce things that sound like what happened before and widgetize it so that it can be monetized because it needs to be scalable, yada, yada, yada. But in reality, it's fluid. It should change. No two songs will sound the same if the artist is evolving. If you're stuck in a cycle, ask yourself, who's the art for? Is it for the passion of myself, or is it for somebody else's bank account? Can't paint a picture looking over your shoulder for the judgment, because it'll always come out wrong, right? So I love the fact that you pointed that out, because it brought some really dope artists to a different level, right? And I say that because it weeded out what do they say? The men from the boys. That's the term. But it literally weeded out the artists that were just widgetized crap and the ones that could pick up a pencil, a spoon, and a book and start smacking on it and singing a cappella, something that you really would be just stuck watching. Right? Those are the artists that stand the test of time, right? And I think that you're one of those people, because you always evolve. When I was looking through your music, like, this dude gets it. He's not hanging up on a genre, right? That's the worst thing you can do. That's like picking one outfit for the rest of your life. Unless you're Steve Jobs, cut it out.
It's imprisonment for artistic endeavors of any sort. I always like to point out the example of painters, artists. It's that painter, whoever it be, Dali, Matisse, doesn't paint the same picture over and over and over and over. They paint one and they move on.
It's a beautiful mind. It should look like a window of just shit, algorithms and numbers and different patterns and this, that, and the other. Because in my mind, and I consider myself somewhat of an artist, not like you, right? But in my mind, it's always evolving, and it's not going away. It's like adding additional seasonings to my artistic soup.
When it comes with the experience, and things change from minute to minute. And so music and songs should be the same. Yes, sometimes you write a bunch of songs that fit together within a short span, but within that span, the next song comes out and it's a whole different project. A whole different sound, a whole different idea.
It's one symbol in the background of the last song that reminded you of something, that hit a note that you put to the side and said, that one's going to be what I do next. And it's got this whole new shell. Like, I get that. And that's how I bounce around like a freaking pinball, right? So tell me about going into the pandemic, being isolated, finding your art, and then finding your community and getting to escalate to the next level through that. So
before the pandemic, I had some medical issues. I had an aneurysm and 2 strokes and some other stuff behind that, which kind of made me live like I was in the pandemic already. I was isolated. I was alone.
You hit your knees long before the pandemic.
Oh, yeah. So when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, you guys are on my level now. You guys already are going to feel how it feels to be left behind for 6 years now. So at that point, I caught up to everybody else, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so I had all these music ideas happening, and I was living alone. I was recording these demos, and a friend reached out to see how I was doing. And I go, I've just been busy writing again now that I have quote unquote time to do it. So I sent him stuff, and he goes, you need to record this stuff. This is like new and different, and I can't put my finger on it. So I was like, oh, I'll see if I decide to, because it was just a hobby at that. I mean, I didn't think I was coming back. That was my mindset.
Fair enough.
And so these songs, the ones on the EPs, were written while I was recovering. So my brain was fuzzy. I was having fever dreams. And so the sound of those songs were the sounds of my brain, if that, I correlated with that. And so I got in touch with the producer, Chris Schlarb.
Sort of like a synesthesia, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just making sure I'm following along here.
Yeah. So with me, the music is in tandem with the lyrics and the imagery. And so they come together. I can't leave both aside, because the instrumentation feeds the imagery that I'm trying to produce. And so producer Chris Schlarb and I got together and we recorded these as just the samples to see if I can come back and see if I can do it again. And then it just snowballed from there. And I just released this album in October, and this past summer I went in and finished the next one after that.
I felt that. I felt the happiness and the pride in that next step, and that you're here, right? You're here. And I would argue that I'm not the person that says, oh, things happen for a reason, right? That's the worst thing you can say to somebody that's gone through a traumatic event. That said, I will frame it like this. You utilized that time to create a baseline for yourself and a manageable way to create so well that when people came to your situation and were in need of artistic expression and that want to collaborate, you were already waiting for them. You were sitting there with the ability to help them get to that level. And to me, that's how it's supposed to work. Not everything happens for a reason, but if somebody's pursuing what they authentically love, their passion, all things will come together when they're supposed to.
And things have worked out that way with that mindset. I have that exact mindset. It's like, if you're not on the dance floor, no one's going to dance with you.
No,
you got to be dancing already. You got to be out there, even if you're alone dancing. It attracts somebody else to come dance with you.
Who made it uncool to dance? That's like telling somebody that they have an awful smile or laugh. You're killing part of their soul, their ability to release in the ways that we were designed to release, because we're all unique. Each and every one of us have our own unique artistic expression, whether it be math, whether it be playing in the dirt, whether it be music, whatever it is, man. That is your art. And if you do it the best that you possibly can every single day, money comes, happiness comes. The people that you want in your life come. And I can't express that enough, right? Because when we're inauthentic, we're creating connections with inauthentic people and people that don't match who we are. And then we're expecting to derive happiness from that situation. And it's impossible, right? We've already proved this. Burger King couldn't make salad taste like meat, right? It doesn't work. The Impossible Whopper, screw you, right? But that's the same thing as trying to get the feeling of that satisfaction from the people around you when you're giving them someone other than they know, right? Yep. You're giving them a different face. Of course, you're attracting them. But once you're yourself, your guard is down. You don't have to pick it back up. You don't have to remember who you were in situations. And then the people that land in front of you, you have a filter. If they dislike the authentic you, then they're likely a piece of crap or not ready to have a relationship with someone. Because if you saw them do that to somebody else in your situation, you'd be like, asshole, and walk off, right? So I like to think of it like that. I met a kid that got a diamond tattoo under his eye. He was upset. He said, Jay, he's like, I made a big mistake. I said, I don't see a mistake. I see a filter for fucked up people. For the rest of your life, anybody that doesn't like that thing under your eye is a worthless person and is not capable of being on the level of you, not vice versa, right? Yeah. And that's just kind of my spiel. Sorry about that.
No, you're right, because people, we all do it. We all end up judging someone before we get to know them, whether what they're wearing, if they have a tattoo on their face, if it's just, it comes naturally. I don't know if it's a protection thing for us or it's just envy, whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to authentic, like you said, being authentic, those who have been through certain struggles or are authentic themselves know how to see through the crap, basically.
Oh, yeah, that filter is real.
Filter, yeah.
I believe that people like yourself, or maybe myself, that have that filter, right? And you can see through the BS. I believe that only makes it visible, right? Kind of like they use those little, like a map with a red cover that you can put over it and see things. Yeah. Then you remove it and you put a green.
Yeah.
Just like that, you and I, or somebody in that situation, might be able to recognize that, but it's not gone. And that person that's standing there that does not have that filter actually knows what we know. They just don't know it. That's why they're not attracted to those kind of humans. We do it in interviews all the time, right? You're like, I don't know. The guy said the right things.
Yeah.
Right. But he or her did not believe themselves.
Yeah.
When you believe in yourself, you become an artist at a different level, like yourself, right?
Well,
you get renewed vigor.
Yeah. It's like anyone that asks, oh, how are you doing? You can tell if it's genuine or if it's just a passing by thing. You know, it's as simple as that. Is if someone actually wants to ask how you're doing, you can feel that when they ask it. It's not just a passing by thing.
Is it bad that I don't like that? I am not a fan of of small talk.
No, I don't like small talk, but it depends on who's asking as well. So
good point. Good point. You know, there is a place for it.
Correct.
That said, I don't like small talk for small talk's sake.
Yeah.
Don't fill the air.
Yeah.
If you're filling the air, it's not real.
Yeah. You're not comfortable. Yeah, you're not comfortable.
No, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, it's super weird too, because if you think about it on a granular level, somebody is just sitting there trying to spew things out to get your attention. Yeah. Right.
Or they have an agenda that they want to talk about and they're just trying to perk your ears so they can get into it. I'm a big fan of silence. I mean, a quick smirk and just sit next to me in silence is okay with me. That doesn't bug me at all.
Dude, I enjoy that more than I enjoy the conversation because I feel like more was said.
Yeah.
Way more is said in that.
Yeah.
That look.
I have this thing that I carry a pack of cards with me everywhere I go. So whether it be with a friend or I meet somebody, when I know someone doesn't want to talk or is uncomfortable, I just say, you want to play a card game? And they go, I don't know any. It's like, I'll show you. Then that oddness is gone. And now you're just concentrating on learning or playing the card game. And then subconsciously, you just start talking naturally without feeling pressured to talk.
You out.
And so it's for those who like to date, it's a cool little trick.
That is an amazing tip.
Because it just takes away that awkwardness, and now you're concentrating on something, and you'll notice how naturally the conversation starts right after that.
I absolutely love that. Find your small quirk that you might be able to do that somebody else can't, and try to get them to do it.
Yeah.
When they're sitting there doing it, occupy their mind with something outside of it. This is
correct.
Dude, we're solving the world's problems here.
There we go.
Right?
with the card game.
Right. So I like the analogy that you have to be on your knees to plant a tree in order to grow into something new. Right. And in your case, an aneurysm, stroke, that's definitely an on your knees moment. Right.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me, if you feel comfortable, what it was like to go from capabilities to lack of capabilities and the areas of, that you loved and how your life changed.
Absolutely depressing. I was 27 when it happened. So I was in my young prime.
Wow. Jeez.
And so from going 100 miles per hour to instantly hitting a wall messes with your mind when you're so used to being on the go and productive. and busy doing, whatever it is. In my experience, with me, it's music. So going from being busy, throughout the whole year with music, playing, writing, producing, to instantly nothing. It made me question myself as basically who am I? Because after that was like, am I only music, or is there somebody else there? So from that experience, there was a lot of self-reflection and trying to figure out if there was more to me than just me being being a musician. And so there was a lot of relearning and learning, and a lot of self-reflection, basically.
Would you say that the things that you valued in life changed quickly?
Absolutely. Perspective, priorities, people, and not to be self-pitying. It's friendships. After you're not able to offer something to people, they disappear.
However, that's a reflection of their inability to cope with the fact that you're in that situation, because it might happen to them someday.
Yeah, or just
it's weird.
They can't get something out of you anymore. Whether it's
that's not a friend.
Yeah, and so that hurt as well, learning who those people were. And again, I tell people that I see it as a blessing now, because it's made me see things differently and be patient, very patient, and take my time with decisions and go with my gut feeling on things. Intuition is 100% what I go by now.
There's no reason you shouldn't. It doesn't lie. The lies come from the mind, right?
Yeah,
the mind is designed to protect you.
Yep.
Right? Ever since the saber-toothed tiger was running you down from the backside, the mind was made to do that. Except the saber-toothed tiger can also be what somebody thinks of me in the line at the store because I'm wearing a shirt that's a little too tight. Yeah. Right? That I'm self-conscious about it. That's my new trigger. That's the new thing that makes me have a fear and makes me act a certain way. Maybe I go ahead and pull my shirt, or I puff up, or people do weird things to mask those small inadequacies that they think they have, right? It's just how we mask it.
Well, and then it comes down to comparing ourselves to others. It's like, why would you hide that? Because you're comparing yourself to someone that doesn't look like that, right? What other people are comparing you to as well.
I think there's a disconnect in letting us know how unique we actually are from day one.
The culture around here does that. It wants you to fit into a box when,
that can be monetized. You can give widgets their correct items.
They can monitor it with numbers.
Ooh. It's something on a spreadsheet, the pie, if you will.
And if you're not in that box, they can't monitor that.
And if you're in a small slice of the pie, you're screwed.
Yep.
Man, it's amazing that you had the intestinal fortitude to recognize that your art and your passion were what was going to bring you back to center. Tell me what it felt like when you realized that you could still make music.
The little cartoons where the heavens open up and the light comes down, and it's like, it was the opposite. The light came out of me and shot up, because it was always there.
Bro.
It was always there, and it was me putting up that wall.
Right.
And so when I finally realized that, and I convinced myself of what my new parameters are, or aren't, if you want to put it that way.
Your new normal.
My new normal, my new me, my new attitude, my new thoughts on things. Everything opened up the floodgates, and it's just, even now, I can't stop writing.
I absolutely love that. And the light coming from within is something very important. I like to point out often that we start as a flame when we're born. And we have these societal layers, implicit biases, and internal, devaluation of who we are, where we start to place a glass over that flame with just a small amount of air, and we never let it come to its full potential. And here's what I believe. Someone like yourself, when you become a light from within, you're actually becoming a lighthouse, because you're showing people that you are allowed to be yourself. Being yourself is the true honor that you can provide to life, right? And it allows other people to be comfortable in their skin, allows them the license to be as weird as they are, unconditionally, because that's the best version of the people, right? And those of you out there that have discovered what we're discussing about yourself, the onus is on you at that point to continue to be yourself and set that example. That doesn't mean you can't go through trials and tribulations, but know that you have set a new example for everybody around you as how acceptable they are the way they are. So I appreciate you taking that time to give yourself the love you deserved in order to bring that to fruition. A lot of times it's easier to sit in the victim chair than it is to do things about what has happened to you. The victim chair comes with cup holders. It reclines. It's got an iPad attached to it. Looks like that thing in fucking Brookstone that like massages your feet. It's all the reasons to not get up and go face it yourself, to the point that you will start hating other people for doing well. And you will say all the things that you think they're doing wrong only because you're not good enough with yourself to recognize that you're worth doing that and you have the same capability. So the only thing you can do in those positions as the person like yourself is just to continue to just be Dani as hard as you can be. Like just, I don't know if you can double down on being yourself, but that's what I think we should do.
No, and you're right, because people, like you said, they get comfortable in that mess, and it's much easier than trying. And the point is, some might try, but they don't realize that it takes time, and people want to get somewhere instantly. But it's the patience that you learn getting there that makes it worth it. And some people just can't get past that. It takes time. It took me 6-7 years to recover. I could have given up within the first year.
You have to explore your authenticity with childlike feeling, right? That childlike exploration of who you are. It's got to be something that you love and you want to experience. You can't come out of the victim chair and want to create yourself in the image of someone else or what you were told is happiness. If you were told what is happiness, it's wrong. Because your happiness is unique to you. It's a key. It is only yours. Nobody else has the same key as you. It is your happiness alone, right? And once we recognize that, then again, we give people license to just be themselves at just a whole different level.
Back to the not sticking to genre, there's no formula to happiness. There is no set formula to anything. It's your formula, what you figure out.
No. Everybody's got an uncle that loves the shit out of trains and nobody wants to go look at them, right?
You're right. No, you're right.
He's not unhappy. In fact, I would argue he's a little happier than us because he's not hung up on what you think about his trains.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, there's something to be said about doubling down on yourself in the regard that you don't have to worry about what other people think anymore because you have taken self-love to a different level, right? And who loves somebody that doesn't love themselves? You proved yourself unlovable to the closest thing to you, right? If you hate yourself, you're like, come on, everybody loves me. I'm like, but I'm unlovable. Like, no, that isn't how it works, right? Starts from within. So you planted that tree, you found music, got a light from within. You're going into the pandemic. You have friends reaching out to you. You're showing your art. You're talking about what you've been doing. What's collaboration look like? How do you come out of that? What does that spring you into?
So I was so used to doing everything myself, recording, playing all the instruments. And so when my friend introduced me to the producer of this album, Chris Schlarb, he picked up exactly what I was trying to do. And he goes, I have the perfect musicians that would be great on this, if you're okay with that. And I said, I'm always, now I'm an open book to try anything new when it comes to the creative process. So I had never met these musicians. I went into the studio and I just let things be. There was I didn't come in with a set idea. I didn't come in with, I want you to play like this. I want you to play this. It was just, let's see how you interpret what I sent you.
And that's amazing. You don't tell pepper to taste like pepper. Correct. Or, cinnamon to taste like cinnamon before you put it in your food, right?
Correct.
You don't tell them who to be, because then they're not going to give you what you really want to see or hear.
If you're coming in and wanting to be authentic, you have to let the others be authentic in how they are authentic. And so I wanted that, and they played their asses off, and I fell in love with those musicians. And so I used them again for this album. And then I used some of those again for the next album coming after that. And after playing together, the looseness and the inspiration within what they hear, from what I send them, it keeps growing and developing to where I go like, I don't know who's writing this stuff anymore. Is it me or them? Or is it something in the room while we're playing?
It's a new entity in and of itself. It's an amalgamation of a whole bunch of creative minds working in unison, creating a new form of art. That's a different level, right? And I'm kind of curious, because I love working in music, but as a producer of music, you don't necessarily get as much time in these interactions, right? What's it feel like to let go of creative license to the degree that you're allowing other people to hold a paintbrush with you at the same canvas? How does that feel? Because there's got to be a certain amount of trepidation in it where you're like, I know how that guitar sounds. Like, I don't know if you truly know that you're supposed to bend that bitch until it goes around the backside of the fret. Like, you have to know that. So it's hard to do that. Or do you tell me how you went through that.
It is very freeing. That's the best way I can say it's freeing. It's so freeing where if you're open enough and you don't have those ego, basically, whatever it becomes, that song, that guitar part, as you mentioned, and you see it with open eyes, it becomes something so new and refreshing that you can listen to it yourself over and over and over. Whereas if I were to write it or told them to play it this way, I couldn't listen to it. I wouldn't be able to listen to it. So being able to see things from the outside and seeing these things out of my hands, it's like basically you don't tell, if you're having a baby, you don't tell your wife's womb how to make the baby, right?
I just had a kid, so I could imagine how that conversation would have went.
It comes the way it comes. It
does.
And so it's basically that. It's me seeing the birth of something without me touching it.
That's super cool, because you have to trust. Trust is something that we don't get to truly experience often, right? There's always a certain level of skepticism in relationships. And if you're like healthily, mentally challenged like me, my mental health issues tell me that you don't like me until I know you long enough, even though you've said you like me, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that works for me. So I want to kind of shift gears though. Right?
Sure.
I want to talk about what working as a group again and releasing an album is like, right? Putting that on wax. I'm a Beastie Boys fan. I'll always say that. Right. License to Ill, best album that ever came out. I wore it all to hell and back.
It's great. Yeah.
It's junk. It's sounds upon sounds upon sounds that aren't traditional sounds.
That's why it's good.
I love them. It's why I love them. So you have your box of sounds now. You have everybody there. What's it look like? Putting it on wax.
It's refreshing. It's the best way I could do. It's these things live, and you'll probably understand when I say this. These things live in my head until they're out. So all these songs, all the things I write are completed from start to finish in my head. And until I record them, can I just put them in the, I wouldn't say trash can. They just escape my body. So you can imagine if I have right now 2-3 extra albums ready to record, they're nagging in my head. So when I get to put it on wax, it's like the sealed stamp of it's gone. And it's so relieving and refreshing, and knowing that it's not just on my shoulders, it's on the shoulders of the bands, of the musicians that were included, and the producer and whoever else was included in making this product.
That's a memorial. That's something that is never going to change. It's etched in time, and that encapsulates the relationship of that art into one moment that now gets to be consumed by so many people. I say we a lot, and it's not true. I'll say me. I used to. I wasn't grateful for the art and the creations of the people around me on a granular level, right? I was looking only to the things that were hanging on the wall, the big items, a particular piece of art. I think that it truly should be at a granular level when it comes to gratitude and appreciating creativity like yourself, right? And for me, it was like looking at like one of those little stone shells that you see in your bathroom in the tile, right? There's a dude out there or a woman or whoever that probably spent 6-7 months coming up with ideas on how to engineer that and create it until their wife said, they went home. They're like, no, babe, look what I've been working on. They finally accepted it. It's going in all the homes in that neighborhood. That's amazing. Me, I'm stomping my foot on it and don't give 2 shits about it. That's pretty disrespectful in my book. And not because I want to be, it's because I don't have gratitude lenses or didn't have gratitude lenses. And full disclosure, until I became a true artist on my own, making my own types of creativity, I didn't have the ability to be grateful or respect things at that level because I had never known what it was like to tap into that light you found, right? You can't respect something you don't understand.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So for you, I'd like to hear what it was like the first time sitting with everybody and watching their face and consuming the final stretch or the final product there. What did that feel like?
It all fell together naturally. When the final product was done, we went to mix it, and it was basically mixed already, if that makes sense.
Dude, it makes perfect sense.
When you go in to capture what you want to capture, you capture it. You don't go, well, fix it post. We captured, and you said it earlier, the moment. And that's the whole idea, is to capture the emotion and the moment at that time in that studio for that song. And when you do that correctly, there's not much more work you have to do afterwards. It's there. And
yeah.
And so when we all listen back to it, we're like, oh, we did this. They're like, it's done already. Like, what do we do now? Like, we've never experienced this. It's finished,
That sounds like me with my laundry, right? It's always perpetually almost done. It's the ADHD in me. Like, I don't know how I would react if it was actually done, right? Because the purpose that you feel when you're driven for a particular piece of art has its own life within you. It's growing, it's burning. It's like, I have to get it out. And then once it's out, what's next? It's almost like you have to like stand there for a minute and take inventory. Like you said, you got to think about all those folders in your hard drive that you've stuffed things in when they were small ideas. That symbol we spoke about earlier that you heard that one time that you know is this, or it's going to become this, right? That precipice of change though it's invigorating. Right? It's like you get a new lease on creativity over and over again.
And it's being honest with yourself to letting things be as they are.
Ooh, that's hard to do.
Not forcing things to the way you want them to be. And so this album encapsulates that. If you listen to it, there's so much space that any other producer would be like, well, we can put this and this and this on it. Whereas the idea of coming in is capturing things as they are, to capture that imagery and the feeling. And as Prince says, the funk is in the space.
Ooh, and this is true, right? God, dude, this is such a fun conversation. I'm trying to just think about how it is to look at that wax, know that I'm moving on to my next creative art, and then having new seasonings, right? That's the part we're not talking about. Because when you're pursuing that art, what looks like failures or moments that we don't reach our full potential, or what we believe is our full potential in a moment, become tools. They become so many different tools in your toolbox. That's why very rarely you have to, in order to be young and be an artist, like really young, you have to hear the words old soul, right? Because again, you can't make, gumbo if you've only got salt and pepper issued to you in the beginning. Right? You got to have all those other seasonings before it becomes what you're looking for. Right? And that comes with experience, not age. Right? We say old soul about children, but experience is a teacher. While time is as well, experience is a laser pointer in time. Right? You may not understand everything around it, but you understand what you went through. Right? And I like to believe that those experiences are layered over time and they create prescription lenses, right? No two people can see the same, right? So you have the prescription lens of an artist that has it taken away, that has to relearn, and that has to overcome those things, right? So when you come across somebody that is wearing the face of those hidden messages, you have the green lenses. You have the ability to show them what they can do. So I would argue that wax might be a completed project to you, but to those out there that are listening to it, it's a beacon of authenticity and hope for their own capabilities through your image and your tenacity, right? We love to think that, it just sounds great. And I'm not discounting what it is that you feel for it. I want you to know more, right? That for people like myself to sit back and hear you said the funk is in the space. And I agree with that. I mean, not just because it's Prince, but less is more. Or those small little imperfections are what make music great. We don't go hankering for the studio produced album. We go looking for the live. And in the live, somebody dropped a guitar and we're like, do you remember when he dropped the guitar? That was so wild, right? Because that's what we want.
The best advice I've been given in my career is people remember how you make them. And this is concert wise. People remember how you make them feel. They don't remember what you say or what note you play. They leave the concert remembering how you made them feel. And the other one is, most of the time they forget the whole set except the last song.
So true. It's the same thing with interviews.
And
but you're like, oh, what did they ask you? And you leave the room and you're like, fuck if I know that. That last question was about, when I wanted to start.
So yeah, if you want to say something profound and it's long, make sure the profound thing is at the end. But
no pressure.
It comes with, with not just recording, but performing. But in recording, it's I see it as a conversation like me and you. There's no set script. There's mumbling. There's me just, hiccup, and I want to record that. I want to capture that. It's normal. It's a conversation. And then when you come see it performed, it's a whole different thing because I'm not mimicking what we recorded. I can't capture that again.
No, and people expect that, which is kind of rude. Yeah. Like chill the F out if I drop my pick or I hit, something wrong. You should be like, dude, he's really doing it. Yeah. It's not a lip sync. Do something, but don't be a jerk about it.
There's life in every aspect of it. And so you got to see the recording aspect as one life and the performance aspect as another. Like even me, I don't want to go to a show and listen to a band play when I can hear what they're going to do in my car. I might as well, I want to go be entertained. That's the whole point. We're entertainers. People forget that. Put on a show for me.
That expression is real. That ability to step outside of yourself and just be out there acting the fool. Right? Yeah. Whether it's your art, if you're a musician or an Olympic diver, that's my definition of acting the fool.
Rock and roll people, musicians, are the only ones that can dress like dumbasses and be on stage and be accepted.
How did the WWF and rock and roll lock down the same fucking clothing items for 2 decades?
Put on a cape and dance for me.
That's my next book. Also, I forgot to land on my unused favorite band name, and that is Hot Lettuce. I need a band out there. If you're Hot Lettuce, send us a message because I need to know what you're making. It just has to be a band name because I hate Hot Lettuce. Right. And the first time it was said, I was like, that's so fucking dope. That's a great name, Hot Lettuce. So, dude, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, being so raw, allowing me to just geek out a little bit with somebody as smooth as yourself. Because, man, we didn't even get to talk about your vocals. You've got a dope voice. Thank you. Your sound is such an amalgamation of some of the greatest artists out there, which, again, that means that you're touring music, right? You're not just sitting around in one area. You're taking a little bit from everything. Because I told you before we started the show, I was like, yeah, I see these artists that are mentioned, in these articles that I said, but I smell what? I smell the Smiths. I smell some Morrissey in there, right? That little, it's like a dash of angst, right?
Yeah. Well, and I like to tell people, it's not how you sing it, it's how you deliver it. And so now it's in the way I sing, it's in the delivery. And you can tell like the nuances because that's how people feel lyrics. You can hit the pitch and everyone will be like, oh, great singer, but did it make me feel anything?
You hit the nail on the head for the difference between an artist and an icon, right? In order to stand the test of time as an artist, you have to believe what you're selling. If you're singing what you're actually saying and you're becoming that moment, people will be attracted to you. We love Kurt Cobain because Kurt Cobain was real. He wasn't hiding a single thing, and that's why we loved him. We love artists that are unconditionally themselves, right? And we need to recognize that it comes with a lot of weight on them because we're very judgmental.
Well, and then the weight comes with the industry because they call them rebels when in fact they're just being themselves. They won't conform to their standards, so the industry labels them as rebels. It's like, no, they're just being themselves.
the strength that we all failed to see because, like an Amy Winehouse or Kurt Cobain, they broke under the pressure, right? Because they were told to widgetize. They weren't allowed to take that tour of music. They were told that they had to make music looking over their shoulder at the producers nodding, right? That sucks the soul out of what to them was probably the most important thing in their life, because I can tell you personally, until I started working in the arts, I didn't know what love and passion was. I thought I did. I truly thought I did. But until I had something there that I was listening to in my own ears that I created that came from a place that had that seasoning in it, I was like, there it is. That's the difference, right? So you, sir, are an amazing human being. You come with all the seasonings. You're going to continue to be a trailblazer in music. I think this is just the beginning for you. I want to invite you back anytime. You have an open seat. I'd like to do a detention episode so you can sit down with us, and there we just kind of chill. Maybe we can bring a couple of artists that we like to listen to, talk about it as a group. My part-time co-host, Gary, he'll come in. He's a producer as well, and we can kind of hang out.
I would love that. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Count me in with whatever you want me to join. I'm always happy to share.
I genuinely appreciate that. And I know everybody else will too, because they're going to love this episode, hearing about your struggles, your tenacity.
I was so into it, I didn't realize my phone was dying.
Dude, stuff like that happens all the time. But I love doing this because time does just completely get away from me.
Yeah.
Like I was just telling you earlier, Pod Populi, I picked this up for a year, and they were like, Jay, here's your sheet. You need to start telling people that you have advertisers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't care. So again, Dani, you're welcome back anytime, and I appreciate you. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find your album, your website, all that kind of stuff, so that we can give you some love, and it will also be in the show notes.
Albums on every streaming service. You can order the vinyl on Bandcamp, and the website is thecrushedvelvets.com for any updates and information, or anybody wants to reach out for anything else.
Love it. All right, everybody, remember, be cool and keep learning.